no longer accepting things. I think that's the kind of message that came through for me. But yeah, we no longer have to accept the way the world and the corrupted systems that govern our society. Meaning the way that we currently elect our public officials no longer is a choice that we have to accept. Our choices are not limited to wealthy billionaires who seek power and control over society as a whole, as a means to enrich their own bank accounts and protect corrupted systems. It's just no longer things that we have to accept as society. And I think that's something that we need to realize. How can we make viable candidates for public political service positions a reality to shape a better future for our society? So, I thought about this, and there's kind of like two parts to it. We advocate for them on public platforms and spread awareness about the harsh realities that exist within our voting systems. Yeah, the voting system itself is flawed, you know what I mean? As we can see, in media. But how do we really make viable candidates a reality, in today's day and age? To me, it's never been easier. With the technological advancements that exist within today, you can communicate with anyone at any given time across the world. We have the means to elect whoever we want to, and yet we accept 80-year-old men, men that are senior citizens, men who got into their position through money, corruption. Let me give money for your campaign so then you can do a favor for me later. It's that quid pro quo type of thing that needs to be eliminated from public service positions, because that's essentially what it is, being the president. You're in a public service position. We need people in power that understand that power that was bestowed upon them is a privilege given to them by the American people, and ultimately enabling them to act as a stewardess to spread unity and divine oneness, not division, fear, anxiety, and destruction. John F. Kennedy was a soul that understood this more than most and stood up for things like the civil rights movement, even at the expense of his own political position, which speaks volumes to who he was and what he stood for. He was willing to sacrifice his political career because of what he believed in. When he was taken from this earth, the majority of Americans wept, and there was a deep felt sorrow that washed over this country. But why was this? To me, I think the answer is simple. Because the American people had a true leader, that was led by his soul and guided by his heart. Someone who had compassion, even for adversaries, but had a vast understanding of the need for strong sovereignty for every nation. We need a future leader of this country that possesses the qualities that John F. Kennedy had as an American president. I've thought about this multiple times in the past, Someone like that ripped away from our society, an American leader that stood on his morals and values and ultimately was killed for it, who was shaking up the system, these corrupted systems that were in place, this system of control, But I think he saw through that, he saw through the illusions that a lot of these, the intelligence communities, the intelligence community as a whole, was kind of taking control of things. And I think he was going to expose a lot of different things within that system. And I believe that's why he was killed. It's just a theory, you know what I mean? But it's a theory that is becoming more and more a reality, as we gain more information, as time goes on. In conclusion, my personal opinion on the current political systems in place is that the construct of Democrat and Republican is very much so a false construct, much like race is. It is a construct that inevitably leads to division and toxic belief systems that separate us as people. You just sit with that for a second, because I'm reading this book right now, and a deep majority of it is on the slave system itself, in 1845, and what it looked like, and the barbarism that is depicted in that book is one in which it shakes my soul, man. It truly does. To know that there was that type of psychological, physical, spiritual abuse done to people of this earth by other people. It's unquantifiable, the amount of evil I see in that. And it's based on a very false construct of race. The fact that someone has a different pigment in their skin makes them less of a being, less of a human being, is the most bizarre thing and concept that I could never accept. But just like those atrocities happen, and that abuse was conducted against people of this earth, there is still abuse in today's day and age. It looks vastly different, but I think people are waking up to a lot of the evil that's conducted in the background. These protected billionaires, these people that don't want to release information because they're trying to protect people that don't deserve protection. And I guess where I'm going with that is that any sitting president, any political figure that has ever touched a child in a negative way, that has ever abused a child, should be eradicated from this earth. And that information needs to get out, because information is power. And once you give that information to the American people, there's a deep wisdom that I think that's going to be attained. And people are going to start making very different decisions in the future. But a construct that I do believe in is wisdom gained through experiences, and a system of morals and values that enable us as people to stand together. Electing people who advocate and fight for a system of morals and values that are in the best interest of the American population is someone I would stand with and fight for, so they can take that privilege of power and lift this country out of darkness and into a new and very bright future of unity and abundance. And abundance can mean a lot of different things. You know what I mean? I think about what abundance means to me in today's day and age, as far as achieving that as a society and as a country, as a nation, as a sovereign nation, is for all of us to be united, united. Not sitting so much and seeing only our differences. I think we do that so many times in today's day and age, is that we concentrate and we automatically gravitate to our differences. And a lot of people have this preconceived notion that our differences and those particular differences that exist between us automatically make us enemies. And that couldn't be further from the truth. Those differences are tests. They're tests of faith. They're tests and an opportunity for us to show the world that we can come together and find common ground. It's It's crazy to think about this, but didn't we learn this shit in like the 3rd grade? You know, when I think about politics as a whole, didn't we learn this shit in 3rd grade with like Venn diagrams, you know, where you have the 2 circles and where they converge in the middle? Those are the similarities. That's where common ground exists. And common ground nowadays is becoming more and more hard to attain when it comes to debating things. You know, when I think about people that hold a system of morals and values through gained wisdom, you know, through intellectual stimulation and attaining knowledge. I mean, Charlie Kirk is one of them, you know. He, in my opinion, is someone who was attempting to create safe spaces in which you can debate in a healthy manner. And just like John F. Kennedy, he was taken away far too early. Far too early. And this is the kind of barbarism that exists in today's day and age. When someone goes to a college to have a healthy debate and gets assassinated publicly in front of everyone. And then is used as a political stepping stone. His death was essentially used as that, as a political stepping stone, which disgusts me because I know Charlie Kirk, above all, wanted to be known by his faith, not by his political ideology, but by his faith in God. So for them to take him and use him as they did after his death, that does not sit well with me. And that is something that I have a problem with. That is yet another problem within our society. But I do have hope for the future, especially for this country. I think we have to. Not having hope is a dark place to exist in, and it's something that I am not willing to accept. We can make this world a better place through choices, through advocating for people who truly reflect who we are as the American people. People who know the dark side of life. People who have been there. People who don't make decisions based on money and greed and power and control. I see us having choices in the future, you know, but I do believe that choice is going to be up to us, the American people. But we have more power. We have more power than a lot of people would like us to think. It's up to us to stand together in unification, to realize that.